Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the Epack AGM. The directors are now in place, and I will hand over to the chairman, Mr. Keli Gadzekpo.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have the distinct pleasure to welcome you to this virtual meeting, which I now declare open. I'd like to call on Edna Ahunu, one of our fund managers, to give us an opening prayer.
Edna, please go ahead.
Our Heavenly Father, we want to thank you so much. Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for today. We thank you for another opportunity to have the annual general meeting of Databank Epack. We thank you that we are meeting, even though virtually, we still have the opportunity to discuss the affairs of the fund for the previous financial year. We pray that given that this is a virtual meeting, for the first time that we are holding it, it will go smoothly and we'll have a wonderful discussion. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. We invite you to steer affairs, and we pray that we'll be able to have a successful AGM. We thank you for answered prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Edna. So before we proceed, I'd like to draw your attention to the procedures to be used during this virtual meeting. To second a motion, you'll be asked to raise your hand. The moderator will unmute you and you will be required to state your name in full. To ask questions, you can raise your hand or use the chat or Q&A feature, which is located on the screen, on your screen. The polling feature will be used for voting on each resolution. You can only vote when voting is declared open on that specific resolution. A few minutes will be allowed for each resolution to enable participating unit holders to vote. Voting will be done in real time, and the results will be shared for all to see at the end of each vote. Once the voting is declared closed on a specific resolution, you can no longer access or vote on that particular resolution. Instructions on how to raise your hand to either second a motion or ask a question, as well as how to use the polling feature to vote for or against the motion, can also be found on page 1 of the annual report as part of the notice of the annual general meeting. I'll now call upon the company secretary's representative to read the notice of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The notice for the meeting can be found on page 1 of the annual report. Notice is hereby given that the 21st Annual General Meeting of the shareholders of Databank Epack Investment Fund Limited will be held virtually via Zoom on Tuesday, July 14, 2020 at 11 a.m. to transact the following. 1. To receive and consider the reports of the directors, auditors, and the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2019. 2. To appoint a director. 3. To re-elect directors retiring by rotations. 4. To approve directors' fees. 5. To confirm the auditor's remuneration for the year ended December 31, 2019, and to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors for the year ended December 31, 2020. Special business. To amend the company's regulations or constitution to accommodate the holding of annual general meetings by electronic or virtual means where the directors deem it necessary to do so. Dated this 28th day of May 2020, by order of the board, Accra Nominees Limited Company Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Company Secretary. I now have the pleasure of presenting the Chairman's statement for 2019 to unit holders. Kindly refer to pages 2 to 6 of the annual report for that statement. Here goes. Chairman's statement to shareholders of Databank Epack Investment Fund Limited. Esteemed shareholders, on behalf of my fellow board members, I welcome you to the 21st Annual General Meeting of Databank Epack Investment Fund Limited. This meeting is an exceptional one because it coincides with the celebration of the 30th anniversary of Databank itself. I therefore take this opportunity to invite you all on behalf of the staff and management of Databank to join us celebrate these 3 decades of blessings and leadership in investment banking and asset management in Ghana, and indeed in Africa. We thank God for his grace and bountiful blessings and that have made all these things possible. We thank you, our shareholders, for your dedication and support for the fund throughout these years, and especially during the very challenging times experienced in 2018 and 2019. Over its 23 years of experience, Epack has surpassed the GSE in 16 out of the 23 years. Economic growth. Economic growth was challenging in 2019 as policy uncertainty and waning business confidence continued to slow down growth across global and domestic economies. This adversely affected the performance of your fund. In spite of that, I reassure you that we shall not relent on our commitment to helping you achieve your goal of long-term capital growth. I will in this statement give a brief report on trends on the global, African, and also the Ghanaian markets, together with a review of the fund's performance in 2019. I'll conclude this report with an outlook for the fund in 2020. So, global economic review. Global growth in 2019 recorded its weakest pace since the global financial crisis, which occurred about a decade ago, marked with continued weakness in global trade and investments. Trade barriers and policy uncertainty negatively impacted business sentiment and activity globally. Tighter financial conditions, geopolitical tensions, and social unrest in emerging economies added to the pressures on economic growth generally. The World Economic Outlook, published in April 2020, estimates global growth at 2.9%, lower than the 3.6% which was recorded in the year 2018. Growth in the United States slowed down amid decreased investments and exports. High tariffs resulted in an increase in the cost of trade, while policy uncertainties negatively impacted business confidence. Concerns about the global outlook and persistent below target inflation resulted in the Federal Reserve cutting its policy rates cumulatively by 75 basis points since mid-2019. Ghana's economic development in 2019. Ghana continued its fiscal consolidation efforts in the year 2019, even though there were still challenges in meeting the revenue targets. Aggressive revenue collection in Q4 2019 partly offset shortfalls in previous quarters, but non-tax revenues exerted a drag on total revenue. The government's resolution to contain the budget deficit within the 5% legislative cap was reflected in expenditure cuts in 2019. However, elevated spending pressure, particularly on interest payments, cost of the financial sector cleanup, energy sector obligations, and social intervention programs, prevented ample cuts in expenditure to prevent the marginal fiscal overrun, or rather to avoid the marginal fiscal overrun. Economic growth recovered moderately to 6.5% in 2019 compared to 6.3% in 2018. But it remained slightly below the recent 3-year average growth of 6.9%. The uptick in 2019 growth was on the back of a modest recovery in the oil and gas sector, supported by strong private sector growth and expansions in sectors such as ICT and real estate services. Exchange rate developments. The Ghana cedi suffered slight losses in 2019, broadly from frail sentiments following the surprise 100 basis points cut in the monetary policy rate in January of 2019. Subsequent publications of weaker fiscal and public debt data further dented investor confidence in the policy outlook and intensified the outlook of foreign capital, weighing down the cedi's valuation. Although a $3 billion Eurobond inflow lifted the Ghana cedi in March of 2019, fundamental fiscal concerns returned to the fore to deepen the cedi's 2019 fiscal year to 12.9% on the interbank forex market. Inflation developments. Inflation remained low, below its central path of 8% since the release of the rebased consumer price index by the Ghana Statistical Service in September 2019. Although the rebasing of the CPI and the adjustment of expenditure weights dragged inflation below 8% in Q3 of 2019, higher taxes and utility tariffs with intense currency pressures in Q4 of 2019 pushed up inflation expectations, leading to a year-end inflation of 7.9% in 2019. On the fixed income market, the government continued to favor the issuances of medium to long-term bonds, but largely targeting maturity rollovers for the short-term securities. On the secondary bond market, investors' tenure preference broadly drifted towards the shorter term to maturity instruments in 2019, with over 50% of secondary market trades being in the 2020 to 2023 maturities. Money market yields were thus broadly stable, with a 91-day and 182-day and also the 364-day bills closing the year at 14.7, 15.17, and 17.9% respectively. Stock market performance in sub-Saharan Africa. The performance of sub-Saharan African equity markets maintained a downward trajectory as major economies on the continent faced fiscal sustainability challenges due to growing debt levels and slow economic growth. The slow pace of economic reforms in South Africa, the tight monetary policy stance maintained in Nigeria, and the financial sector cleanup in Ghana were some of the factors that restricted equity market activity. Some markets such as Kenya, South Africa, and Malawi ended the year in positive territories with returns of 15.8, 8.24, and 4.38 respectively. Nigeria, Ghana, and the BRVM ended the year in negative territories with returns of negative 14.6, negative 12.25, and negative 7.55 respectively, mirroring trends driven by global economic uncertainties and bearish investor sentiments. The Ghana Stock Exchange market, the Ghana stock market developments. Ghana's equity market posted a second consecutive annual decline in 2019. The benchmark GSE Composite Index closed the year 12.25% lower compared to a 0.29% decline in 2018. The bearish performance of the equity market in the year 2019 was induced by negative investor sentiments resulting from heightened currency pressures, post-IMF uncertainties, and a widespread foreign investor sell-off. The political risk buoyed by Ghana's upcoming presidential and parliamentary elections in December of this year further worsened market sentiments. So out of the 41 listed equities, 29 traded with only 6 recording price gains, 22 recording declines, and 11 stocks remaining unchanged. A remarkable event on the bourse, however, was the 3.49 billion CD share block trade in ETI worth some 348.7 million Ghanaian cedis. And this happened on August 29th, 2019, the largest single trade in the history of the Ghana Stock Exchange. The trade saw the International Finance Corporation, IFC's 14% stake in ETI sold to Arise BV, an equity investor in financial institutions in sub-Saharan Africa. Epack's performance. Your Epack. In spite of the mixed performance of African markets in 2019, your Pan-African Mutual Fund, Epack, closed the year with a return of negative 1.11%. And compared to the Ghana stock market's 2019 return of negative 12.25%. The fund's holdings in South Africa, Kenya, Mauritius, and Malawi contributed positively to the returns of the fund. This performance was, however, dampened by declines recorded on the fund's holdings on the Ghana Stock Exchange. It is worthy, however, to note that despite disappointing performance over the past 2 years, Epack's cumulative return over its lifetime continues to significantly outperform the return on the Ghana stock market over a comparable period. The number of shareholders in 2019, the number of shareholders in Epack in 2019 increased from 101,650 to 103,487. The fund's assets under management, however, declined by 11% from 106 million Ghana cedis, from 186 million Ghana cedis to 165 million Ghana cedis as at December 31, 2019. Outlook. The outlook in the global economy had begun to see some gradual improvement until the outbreak of the novel coronavirus, also called the COVID-19, started spreading beyond China, Wuhan, where it was first reported to just about every country in the world. Leading economic indicators point to a very bearish prospect for the global economy as the rapid spread of the coronavirus limits cross-border economic activity. The economic outlook in the sub-Saharan region is therefore no different, as growth momentum is expected to be held back by restrictions on labor mobility, tighter financial conditions, reduced trade as well as investment, and a sharp drop in commodity prices. Not to mention probably the actual quantities of those commodities also. We expect governments to increase fiscal spending on health services at the expense of capital expenditure on the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, and central banks to continue to provide monetary stimulus packages that will help combat effects of this pandemic across financial markets. The potential risk of such measures, creating cheaper credits and endangering debt sustainability across the private to public sectors in the affected economies, should not be ruled out. Nigeria's insufficient policy adjustment, large infrastructure gap, low private investment, banking sector vulnerabilities, coupled with the outbreak of the coronavirus, are expected to slow growth. The outlook for Nigeria is further worsened by the collapse in oil prices on the world market since early March of 2020. South Africa's growth is projected to remain subdued as private investment and export growth are expected to remain low, especially after Moody's downgraded the country's credit ratings to sub-investment grade. The anticipated sluggish growth in Nigeria and also in South Africa is likely to limit positive spillovers to their trading partners. In Ghana, despite the positive domestic growth trajectory in recent years, the novel coronavirus could potentially erode the gains made so far. Significant shortfalls in revenue, increased public expenditure, tighter financing conditions, decreased investments, and limited cross-border economic activity are all expected to have a huge negative impact on Ghana's economy. The need to implement drastic fiscal measures to sustain economic activity to counter the negative impact of COVID-19 ahead of the December 2020 elections could put considerable pressure on the government to overspend. This could derail progress towards fiscal sustainability, as the revised fiscal outlook from COVID-19 policy responses indicates an overall fiscal deficit of 9.2% for the year 2020, higher than the 5% cap in the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Despite the new measures to improve tax collection, the significant decline in crude oil prices, lower import volumes and values, as well as the slowdown in economic activity, are all expected to result in significant revenue shortfalls for the government. This could lead to higher borrowing from the domestic market and potentially also from the central bank. Heightened political and fiscal concerns in the lead up to the general elections in December could cause a sharper than expected depreciation of the Ghanaian cedi. This could likely be worsened with the imminent threat of a global recession resulting from the coronavirus pandemic, which itself could lead investors fleeing the assets of emerging and frontier markets such as Ghana. Although the rebasing of the CPI and adjustments of expenditure weights dragged inflation below 8% in 2019, a potential drastic slowdown in real GDP growth on account of COVID-19 could negatively affect supply of goods and services to pose an upside risk to inflation. However, the slump in crude oil prices on the world market is expected to push down ex-pump prices to exert a downward pressure on inflation in 2020. Overall, CPI inflation is projected to remain within the Bank of Ghana's target band of 6 to 10% in 2020. On interest rates, we expect a moderate decline as increased monetary stimulus and government borrowing from the central bank are expected to mitigate the upward pressure on yields emanating from potential exchange rate uncertainty. The anticipated slowdown in economic activities is also likely to negatively affect corporate earnings in the year 2020. The COVID-19 containment measures, such as social distancing and lockdown of major cities, may lead to a decline in productivity and to some extent some job losses. Restricted international trade and travel is also expected to hurt the services sector. With these conditions, the GSC's return in 2020 is likely to be negatively impacted. Some closing remarks. Despite the mixed outlook for Ghana and the uncertain prospects for Sub-Saharan Africa in 2020, I am encouraged by our track record of endurance, effective risk management, and sustainable value creation during periods of economic turbulence. Our proactive approach to maximizing shareholder value combines our innovative Pan-African investment strategy with a rigorous stock selection process. This has always enabled us to provide you, our cherished shareholders, with sustainable risk-adjusted returns over the long term by exploiting growth opportunities across the African continent. We are therefore counting on your continued patronage over the next 30 or so years as we strategically consolidate the fund's position as Ghana's equity mutual fund of choice. Finally, we'd also like to express our sincerest gratitude to you, our cherished shareholders and contributors, for keeping faith with Databank Epack, even in these challenging times, even more so in these challenging times. And your patience will surely be rewarded in due season, as it always has been. Let me thank you again and celebrate you in this, our 30th year. For you are a large part of Databank's success in reaching this milestone. And indeed, it is for you that Databank goes the extra mile. So I thank you, and I want to say God bless us all. Your chairman, Keli Gadzekpo. So the next item on the agenda is to receive the auditor's report. I will now ask a representative from the auditors, Messrs. Baker Tilly, Anda, and Anda, to present their report.
Samuel, please go ahead.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Samuel Abiel, the engagement partner. I'm here with my colleagues. And once again, we are using our enhanced report, auditor's report. So may I crave your indulgence to read portions of the report? Am I permitted to do that? Please.
Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So I read my report. Independent auditors reports to the members of Databank Epack Investment Fund Limited. I read the opinion part. We've audited the financial statements of Databank Epack Investment Limited, which comprise the statement of financial position as at December 31, 2019, and the statement of comprehensive income, statement of changes in equity, and statement of cash flows for the year then ended. And those two, the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies as set out on the pages 26 to 37. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statement present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the fund as at December 31, 2019, its financial performance, and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, and comply with the Companies Act 2019, Act 992, the Securities Industry Act 2016, Act 929, the Securities and the Unit Trusts and Mutual Funds Regulation 2001, LI 1695. So I'll jump to the key audit matters portion. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance. There are audits of the financial statements of the current period. They are matters to be addressed in the context of our audits of the financial statement as a whole and informing our opinion thereon. And we do not provide separate opinion on those matters. Impairment provision. Investment in fixed income securities was 19,646,313 as against 24,054,075 for 2018. As at 31st December 2019, with a total general impairment provision of 131,825 for 2019 and 263,593 for 2018. The measurement of impairment provision is deemed a key audit matter, as the determination of assumptions for expected losses is subjective due to the level of judgment applied by the directors. The most significant judgments are assumptions used in the expected loss models to assess the risk related to the exposure and the expected returns from the issuer. Timely identification of, I think there's a mix-up here, valuation of collateral and assumptions of future cash flows on mutually assessed investment impaired exposure, how we dealt with the matter. We updated our understanding and tested the operating effectiveness of management control over investment, maturity of investment, and interest receivable. We evaluated the appropriateness of the accounting policies based on the requirement of IFRS 9 and industry practice. We also evaluated the adequacy of the disclosures made in the financial statement to ensure that transition adjustments were accurate and complete. We performed substantive testing to obtain evidence of timely identification of exposures with significant increase in risk and timely identification of investment impaired exposures. We conducted substantive testing to support appropriate determination of the assumptions for impairment provision and future cash flows on manually assessed investment impaired exposures. I will jump to the reports on the other legal and regulatory requirements. The Companies Act requires that in carrying out our audit work, we consider and report on the following matters. We confirm that we've obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of the audit. In our opinion, proper books of accounts have been kept by the fund so far as appears from the examination of those books. The fund's financial statements are in agreement with the books of account signed by Samuel Abiel on the 30th of April 2020 for and on behalf of Bekatili and Nanda Accra. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Bekatili. Before we consider our first resolution to be voted upon, I'd like to ask Gillian Palmer, Databank's Chief Marketing Officer, to once again explain to us the procedure for seconding a motion and also for asking a question or voting on the resolution. So let's pay keen attention.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To second the motion, you will be asked to raise your hand. The moderator will unmute you, and you will be required to state your name in full and also indicate whether you are a shareholder or a proxy. To ask questions, you can raise your hand or use the chat or Q&A feature. If you are using a PC, click on Participants and then click Raise Your Hand. If you are using your mobile phone, you can also just click Raise Your Hand. The polling feature will be used for voting on each resolution. You can only vote when the chairman declares the voting open on a specific resolution. The experience will be the same whether you are using your PC or a mobile device. When it is time to vote, The poll will appear on your screen. Select your preferred option, which is for or against, to cast your vote. A few minutes will be allowed for each resolution to enable participating shareholders to vote. Voting will be done in real time, and the results will be shared for all to see at the end of each vote. Once the voting is declared closed on a specific resolution, you can no longer access or vote on that resolution. The instructions on how to raise your hand or either second a motion or ask a question, as well as how to use the polling feature to vote, can also be found on page 1 of the annual report as part of the notice of the annual general meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gillian. So, the first item on the agenda is to receive and consider the reports of the directors, auditors, and the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2019. Are there any questions before the motion is moved and put to the meeting? Please raise your hand according to the instructions we've just heard from Gillian. Use the chat or the Q&A function to ask your question.
Mr. Chairman, we have a question from Prince Quaye. Prince, unmute yourself and go ahead, please.
Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon.
Go ahead.
Good
Prince.
afternoon, Prince. You may go ahead.
Yeah, please, I wanted to ask that as we were going through, you were reading the annual report, we were not having it, and so I was asking, say, why didn't you, like the way you send the messages for us to register before joining, it's all like it will be very good or idea to add the annual report to us so that we will be able to read print it, so that whatever that you are reading, we will follow it and know what question and what you do, because we are not having it and you've not gone through it. And so some of like me like this, even though I reading and everything, because I'm not following it, I don't really understand plenty things.
Okay, Prince, so I think I understand what you're saying. I'll let Gillian provide an answer, but suffice it to say, an apology is due regardless of the answer, because having made your time to come and be a part of the meeting, it's a shame that you have not been able to follow as well as you would have liked to. But Gillian, can you give us some?
Prince, thank you for your question. So the link to the annual reports was provided in the email along with the registration details. That said, even in the chat feature, since the webinar has started today, we have also told you where you can access the annual reports. So you can go to our website and go on to the resources tab and click annual reports. You will find it there, and then you can follow along for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, the next question is from Genevieve Buck. So,
Please go ahead.
Genevieve, please give your full name and identify yourself as a shareholder or proxy. Genevieve, are you able to unmute yourself? Then we will move to, okay. Genevieve.
Yeah, okay. Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the detailed reports given. But then following your discussion, you did mention where you invested our monies, that is in South Africa, Nigeria, and Malawi. And my interest is in Malawi. And granted that in your discussion, you did mention that there was a shortfall in South Africa and Nigeria, but I didn't hear that of Malawi. I asked this because 2 years ago I was in Malawi, and last year, which was the election year, we all know what happened, and also the economy thing also went down. So I wanted to know whether you made a gain in Malawi or you made a loss in Malawi? That is my question.
Thank you very much, Genevieve. I'll ask my colleagues on the asset management front to answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Genevieve. My name is Deborah, the fund manager for Epack. So for 2019 financial year, for Malawi in particular, we had a gain because of the stocks that we're holding. We hold 3 stocks there, and due to dividends that we received, the price depreciation did not impact us significantly. So we got a gain in Malawi. So though the market was down, the specific stocks that we hold, we did get a gain.
Thank you, Deborah. Next, we have a question from Obed Amisa. Sorry. Obed, please go ahead. Okay, Obed, if you're struggling, then I'll move to Esenam and then we can come back to you. Esenam, you can unmute yourself.
Good afternoon. Please, proud to the time I registered for Epack, I made a deposit of 600 cedis. And then some months after, I deposited again 1,500. I was trying to check my account, and what I saw was 1,002 something. And I want to know if there could be a problem with the account. I deposited through UBA Bank at Medina, so I don't know if there's any problem with the account or anything.
Okay, Esenam, thank you very much for your question. This segment actually is in reference to the general well-being of the financial situation of Epack, as opposed to specific customers. But no problem. I want you to hold on, and one of our people will get a hold of you. If you can just kindly just hold on for a second, we'll make an arrangement where your question will be properly handled. Thank you very much.
Sorry, then. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Can we move to the next question, please?
The next person is Obed. Obed, please go ahead. Obed, you still seem to be having issues, so I will move to Frank Techi-Mensah. Frank, please go ahead. Frank, you'll need to unmute yourself if you have a question. All right. Then I will skip them and go to Juliet, who is finally joining us in Epack. Welcome, Juliet. Please unmute yourself.
To myself, okay. Hello.
Hello, Juliet. Please go ahead.
Yeah. I sorry about that. I was on and off because the thing was not.
No problem. We are all learning through this
it's
technology.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
What is happening is that I was asking about. I know a lot of people were asking about their statements and that kind of thing. I asked for mine because I don't live in the country and I'm not able to come to the bank regularly to check on what is happening with my investments or something. So when I asked for it, I think somebody put in an email where we can ask for personal issues or something. So I quickly sent an email to that particular email, hold on, let me take my glasses, info@databankgroup.com. And when I sent the email right now, it says it's Mila. It's wrong. So I don't know what is happening there. I need to know what is going on because it's for a while. It's been years now and I've not heard anything from you. Yes, you send me regular general information about what is going on with the market and our investments, but as to what is really, somebody just said that she has statement which is telling her about what she has in a balance, but I don't have anything like that, so I don't know what is happening. I mean, nothing. And the email address that was posted there, info@databankgroup.com, I just sent an email to it and then it has come back.
Okay, thank you very much, Juliet. So just to remind our contributors and all shareholders that we are always going to be available on the other side in terms of contacting us for specific customer service related items. This segment is really important to review the general financial statements of Epack generally. But Juliet, there will be someone, we've taken note of your question, and somebody will get a hold of you to respond more directly. But I would like to encourage the questions coming to refer more to the resolution at hand. As for customer service issues, we're very happy to handle them on in any way. But this AGM is really meant for the general shareholder questions. Thank you.
Okay, in my next question is that in generally, due to the COVID-19 and everything that is going on, how secure is our investment and what is the way forward? I mean, way forward.
Okay, that's a fair question. I think I'll ask my fund managers to address that. Please identify yourselves.
Are you talking to me?
No, we can wait. Nii, we can hear you. Please identify yourself and then speak to the general shareholder group.
Hello.
Yeah,
yes.
Hello.
Hi, Juliet. This is Nii Ampa-Sowa. I work with the asset management team.
Okay.
So, yes, as far as COVID is concerned, I don't think anything has been spared or is immune.
Okay.
But what we offer as far as an investment management team is concerned is expertise and skill in trying to manage things through the crisis. So some parts of the chairman's report mentioned the various investments that we have in different markets. We have sought to try and reduce our exposure in some of those markets that are a bit more volatile. And then we've also tried as much as possible to secure aspects of our investment through increased investments in treasury bills and other government of Ghana securities. So, I mean, no investment other than government of Ghana securities is truly secure in the purest sense. If you have a fund that has investments in equity, it is likely to experience some variations every now and then. But what I can say is that we are deploying or putting all our expertise at work to make sure that that volatility is reduced to the barest minimum. We are also focused a lot on ensuring that there is enough liquidity for clients that for one reason or another would choose to come and redeem their investments. I hope that adequately answers your question.
Yeah, and my last one, how do I increase my investments?
Okay, so with that, there are a number of options. We don't just have walk-in options. There are a number of virtual options. So since we are going to be contacting you regarding your statement, I'm sure the email that will be sent to you will have a list of options that you could use to top up your investments.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Juliet.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Juliet. We've also sent you an email so that you can respond to that and get in touch with us.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, next we have Dennis and Nkansah. Dennis, please identify your name in full and let us know whether you're a shareholder or a proxy.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dennis Nkansah. I'm a shareholder. And my question has to do specifically with page 35 of the financial statement, which talks about specific impairment. So this will go to the auditors rather than you, Mr. Chairman. So I just want to find out, because I know this is in line with IFRS 9, and there was 7.6 million worth of specific impairment provision being recognized. I just want to find out which industry or sector, or if you like, entities that makes up this number, or it is just a case of using your internal model, which is based on the default factor or credit risk factor to work out what this impairment is. I just want us to have a sense of what constitutes this specific impairment and whether it would repeat itself, because this is about this 77.6 million translates into about close to 5%, if I'm not mistaken, of the total income of the fund. My second question also goes to the auditors. What are some of the going concern assumptions as part of their audit work? Did they as it were, consider in arriving at their audit conclusions on the going concern state of Epack? I hope my question makes sense.
Yes, sir, Dennis. I think we'll turn it over to the representatives of Baker Tilly to respond. Thank you.
Samuel, you can unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me, please? Hello?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, Dennis, to give you more granular details of the so-called specific impairment, we have once again, is it PBC? We have MNN. We have, is it Mega African Capital Limited? These are what have been stated in the financial statement as well, specific impairments. Then once again, going by their policy, they made provision for, I think, 1% or so, yes. 1% general provision. I think from what you are saying is very true. We don't have anything like specific impairment provided in IFRS 9. We were trying to break down the impairment charge in the financial statement. So going forward, maybe we can advise management to box everything together. That is, I see nothing wrong with it. What you are saying that we don't have specific impairment in the standard, yeah, I agree. But you were trying to analyze it. Financial statement is all about disclosure. So that is what I can say about the impairment charge once again. They were doing further disclosure, and that they were able to identify those investments that have gone bad. It is not specifically stated in the standard, but I see nothing wrong with that. It is impairment charge, and that is what has been charged to the income statement. Going by the, considering the going concern assessment, you are aware of this pandemic, COVID-19. Then you made mention of we doing going concern assessment. We don't do that. It's management that does the going concern assessment. Then we review and find out whether whatsoever that assessment that they did, whether they stress tested them, whether they have cash budget projections, and so on and so forth. So that is what we looked at. We didn't do going concern assessment for them. It is not.
No,
it is not.
can I sorry.
Auditors, can I land?
Okay.
I'm happy you are an accountant, a chartered accountant. So you know audits. We go by standards. So they did the assessment. We reviewed it, checked whether whatsoever the assumptions that they've made are reasonable, and so on and so forth. That is what we did. And we've disclosed everything in the financial statements. So what is this question about did we do going concern assessment and so on and so forth? We've disclosed everything in the financial statement, in our report. So
I think maybe.
Okay, Samuel and Dennis, clearly, this is the chairman. Clearly, you're having a wonderful back and forth on a level that is way above us, the common shareholders. Dennis, I'll give you a chance to just sort of see if your questions have been addressed, but I don't intend to leave this open to become an intellectual exercise between two accountants. So go ahead, Dennis, your last comment.
Okay, basically, maybe you. What I used the wrong word. I used the word assessment instead of a review. So the question is, was an assessment, or as it were, a review carried out by the auditors in terms of the going concern.
Okay, thank you very much.
So, and also lastly, the specific provision made. This, I presume, is irrecoverable. So it's purely bad debt. I'm just putting it simplistically for all the shareholders to understand.
Okay, I think we understand you as at your level as an accountant. Samuel, I'm going to give you a last chance, and then after that, there's still a lingering question to do with. Come again. Sorry. The impairment. So the impairment element of your contribution, Dennis, will be addressed by Debbie, the fund manager, and then we'll wrap up this particular question series. Thank you. Go ahead, Debbie.
So thank you, Samuel. Okay, so for the impairment, for the specific impairments, there were two facilities involved. There was MNN and Emega. We do not have exposure to PBC. The two of them were commercial papers. For MNN, we had collateral. So even though we've done provision for it, we are going ahead to enforce the collateral to redeem the money. For Mega, which forms more than 95% of the impairments, we have recovered it this year. And so we are likely to reverse it this year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great show. Good job, guys. You're on top of your accounting. Can we go on? Do we have any more questions?
We do have a few more questions, Mr. Chairman.
Please, let's take 3 more and then we got to move on.
So we will take questions from Frank, Sandra Taylor, and Dennis Yaboa. Frank, please go ahead. Frank, if you're unable to go ahead, then Sandra, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Can you hear me? This is Sandra Taylor.
Hi, Sandra.
Yes. I purchased stock 12 years ago on the strength of a video that was done by a woman, an acquaintance from France, called Africa Opened for Business. And the stock that was recommended was the Epack. I encouraged friends and family to just get an account open and then add to it. I came with over $2,000 to invest, and I took money out of the Agri Bank, which was earning at a consistent 14% in spite of inflation at the time. And I just have to say that I've been quite disappointed with the performance that we've been able to engender. And, you know, you realize that you do this stuff at risk, but it's been actually a nightmare trying to get any kind of support and reports from the Databank system. And when you call, you know, I had a son to pass away. I had opened his account with, I think, around $500. There's no way that, you know, we can come back to Africa every time we want to do a simple transaction with small amounts of money, like withdrawing or closing an account or merging an account. I just want some better accountability when you accept money. We just, you know, you have a responsibility to at least keep everybody in the loop and have them understand what their investments are doing. If we invest in dollars, I don't think it would be too much of a jump to ask that you, in your reporting, also report in dollars what we're earning. I'd also like to know specifically the investments, because I would think that if you're investing in treasury bills, you should certainly have a chance to make up for some of those losses. The last time I was able to actually translate anything, the loss was down at about 30% of what the investment. That's not good over a 12-year period to still be behind the 8 ball. So I'm wondering what specifically is in the portfolio. What is Epack? What are you investing in specifically in South Africa? What are you investing in specifically in Nigeria and specifically in Malawi?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I think I get the thrust of your question and your concerns, and appreciate it. Glad that you were able to find out.
Let me just add quickly that I was counting on using that money. I'm building a wonderful clinic in Aquachrome that's off the road to Apam. And I was counting on being able to repeat that. I have about 4 or 5 physicians in my family who were interested in setting up a distance medicine stream. And the stock market just has not helped us do that. You know, it's lost money.
Okay, understood. So thank you so much. Obviously, your objectives have not been met over the years, but as a more direct way of getting information to you, I'd suggest, for example, for this year that you look at the Epack financial statements, and some of the questions, some of the answers you're looking for in terms of detailed investments in the countries are contained in that actual financial report. If you somehow have not been able to get access to that, kindly, by all means, use our email, and indeed, as we speak, somebody's going to be in touch with you so that you can continue and get information as you wish. Epack continues and has been, if you like, yield positive generally, but it has had its years where it's gone, it's gone negative. But overall, especially for our medium to long-term investors, we're quite satisfied with its performance. We would like more, just like Oliver, but the conditions are such as they are. But I think that being a somewhat engaged investor as you want to be, that will follow up with more detailed responses to your answers. In the meantime, consult the brochure, the Epack brochure, either online or if you can get a physical one, and then we'll continue our conversation with you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Jeanette, do you have any more?
There was one more from Dennis Yaboa, and then we'll move on to the motion. So Dennis, please go ahead.
Oh, hello, my name is Dennis Yaboa. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, okay. I'm joining this meeting from London. I was introduced a data bank by my dad, who's now, well, at the moment, because of the COVID-19, he's based in Ghana. Well, he's stuck in Ghana now. My question is, recently, for the few months now, I've noticed that my Epack money, well, it's been really going down. The performance on Epack is going down at the moment. What I'm trying to find out is what has it been done about it, basically, and because the capital is really going down now. And I have both Epack and mFound accounts with Databank. The reason I set up the account is when I come to Ghana, I don't need the money, but when I come to Ghana and I need money, that was the reason why I opened that account. So I just want to find out what is being done about the Epack. Now the money is going down now. Also, I want an advice on, so basically, where should I invest? Should I, both of the account that I have, the Epack and then the mFound, where should I put my money in? Which account should I put my money in now?
Thank you very much, Dennis. Again, it's difficult to provide individual customized advice in such a forum. And I'm sure your own sense of privacy and so on may not even allow us to do a good enough job. So we're going to follow up with you offline and make sure we respond to your questions. But in a broad and general sense, I think it's fair to say that Epack has, over the last 10 or so years, averaged something like 12% per annum. So in other words, if you were invested in Epack 10 years ago, your portfolio ought to have been returning and would have returned an average of a 12% yield. And I know in your market where you are, 12% would be Christmas time every year if you could get 12%. So I'm not sure what your expectations might have been, but like I said, in order for us to meet your specific expectations, we would like to continue this conversation with you directly.
Because what I'm trying, because what
Can I finish, Dennis? It's going to be difficult for you and I to go back and forth and for us to give you good investment advice in this forum. So somebody is going to follow up with you. Obviously, you're one of our cherished holders, and I hope that when they do, that engagement will lead to you gaining more information and insight, and also meeting your investment objectives. Even better still, actually, is next time you're in town, since I think I heard you say that, kindly come by our offices and meet some of the people who are actually managing your money. Okay? Thank you.
Because what I'm trying to say is, well, since
Okay, so Gillian, do you have any more questions? Okay, so I think we could go at this forever because this is quite a flexible medium where the temptation is to keep talking and talking. But for the interest of time, I'd like to now move the motion. Let me remind you, this motion is to consider the financial statements of your Epack. So I hereby move that the directors and auditors reports, as well as the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2019, are submitted to this meeting, be and are hereby received and adopted. Would a unit holder or a proxy kindly please raise his or her hand to second this motion?
Anna, please go ahead and give us your full name and indicate whether you are a shareholder or proxy before seconding the motion.
My name is Anna Planche. I'm a shareholder. I second the motion.
Thank you. I now put the motion to this meeting. Would all those in favor of this motion, which is to receive the financial statements for Epack for the year 2019, kindly signify by voting in the poll on your screen? Sure. Then I'll continue.
Mr. Chairman, we have ended the voting for this resolution. So on the matter of adopting the reports of the directors, auditors, and the financial statements of the company for the year ended December 31st, 2019, 174 shareholders voted for the motion, 6 against the motion.
Thank you very much, Jillian. So I declare the motion that has been duly carried. Thank you. We'll move to the next business, which is the ratification of the appointment of a director. In the first quarter of this year, there was a change in the composition of the board. Directors at a board meeting held on the 20th of February 2020 appointed Mr. Charles Kofi Amoako as a director of the fund with effect from 20th February 2020. Mr. Charles Kofi Amoako holds a master's in financial management, a diploma in insurance from the West African Insurance Institute, and an MBA in finance. Charles is a dedicated professional with 10 years experience working with a strong commitment to policy interpretations, providing discrete risk advice, analyzing data, and also negotiating payment solutions. Mr. Charles Kofi Amoako has met the relevant statutory declaration and submitted same to the company, with a said statutory declaration having been filed with the Registrar of Companies in accordance with Section 172 of the Companies Act 2019, Act 992. Mr. Amoako has also consented and expressed his willingness to be appointed as a director within the meaning of the said section. At this point, are there any questions before the motion is moved and put to the meeting? Please raise your hand, use the chat or the question and answer function to ask your question.
Mr. Chairman, we have a question from Juliet.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, please identify yourself, full name.
My name is JULIET ATUAHENE Amenyampo. And I want to ask this question. Is he the only one standing for this post?
I think what you want to ask is, were others considered before he was settled on?
Yes.
This is not an open forum where we now begin to take nominations. Yes, he wasn't the only one considered.
Oh, okay.
But the existing board considered him in addition to others and chose to go forward with him.
Okay, so if you have chosen him, then that's fine.
Yeah, it is. But we do seek your consent, your blessing, as you know, this is still your company as a shareholder. It's a legal requirement.
You are keeping our investments. You are making sure that it is working well and it is doing well on the market, and you know him better than we do. So
Yes.
if you think that he's competent and he's capable, then I think then you have made the right choice then.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Juliet, for your confidence in that you repose in the board of directors of Epack. Thank you very much. Are there any further questions?
Yes, we'll take two more, and one from Obed and then one from Eric.
Hello. Hello.
Please go ahead, Obed.
Oh, yes, my name is
Obed, sorry, I have to pause you. Your connection is very poor, so please start again and identify your full name, whether you're a shareholder or proxy, and then ask your question. Sorry, Obed, we can't hear you. So consider putting your question in the chat and then we'll respond to you as the meeting goes on. So we'll just move to Eric Owusu. Eric, please ask your question and give us your.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. First of all, I'd just like to mention I appreciate this, maybe partly due to the COVID-19, so that people not in the city can be part of this. So kudos to you guys. Just to on top of Juliet's original question, I'd like to know if others were considered for this position, how many others were considered for this position? And also, was this person chosen purely due to his education qualification or like other qualities as well? Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, there were, over a period of time, what happens with boards is that when there is an opening anticipated, you don't even wait. You begin to scout through, you discuss. It will be rather difficult to tell you exactly how many. It wasn't as if like a job opening, you post an opening and people come for a certain interview and so on and so forth. It's over the period when you realize you're going to change the director. Each director then begins to help you identify the best fit for the board. In this particular instance, we thought that Mr. Mwakun's, obviously his qualifications, financial, education-wise, are virtually impeccable, and he does have a granular sense of what's going on in the financial industry in Ghana and generally around. So it is just a considered opinion of the board that he is the man for the job. And so that's why we put him forward. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, you're welcome. Can I get someone to second the motion, please, at this stage?
I will call on Kingsley to identify himself and let us know whether he's a shareholder or proxy before he seconds the motion.
My name is Kingsley Kwesi Kobasem, a shareholder, and I second the motion.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. So, and I put the motion before the meeting. With all those in favor of this motion, kindly signify by voting in the poll on your screen.
Mr. Chairman, on the resolution to appoint Charles Kofi Amoako as a director of the company, 169 shareholders voted for the motion and 8 voted against the motion.
Thank you very much. I now declare that the motion has been duly carried. Thanks. The next business is the re-election of Kojo Addae-Mensah, who is the Chief Executive of Databank, and also Madam Adelaide, who are they are both due for retirement at this meeting and have offered themselves for re-election. Kindly refer to page 41 of the annual report for information on the named directors. That is Kojo Addae-Mensah and Madam Adelaide. At this stage, are there any questions before the motion is moved and put to the meeting? Please raise your hand. Use the chat or the question and answer function to ask your question. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we'll take a question from Kingsley, then Juliet, then Irenaeus. And
Irenaeus is the first name outside of Kingsley and Juliet. We've heard from Kingsley and Juliet already?
Yes.
So can we start with Irenaeus?
So Irenaeus, let's start with you. Please unmute yourself.
I have unmuted myself. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we
can. Loud and clear.
Yes, I have been with Databank for some time now, and I welcome Kojo for standing in again. I just wanted to know from him where he thinks he would help steer us out of this conundrum that we have been in and seeing Epack beginning to dip.
Thank you very much. Gillian, please make sure the camera is on Kojo as he answers this question. It probably is the most seminal question of the whole meeting. Thank you very much. Yes.
Do I need to unmute myself?
Can you hear me? It's very thin. Okay. I'll still shout as much as I can. But thank you very much for your compliment. Because okay, I'm here. Can you see me now? You can see me and hear me now?
Yes.
Right. So I'll say thank you very much for the compliment. Getting Epack out of where we are now is both exogenous and endogenous factors there. There are some factors that we can't do much about, but I can assure you that together with the fund managers, we are doing all we can to ensure that we try and reduce the volatility as much as possible. And I think earlier on, the fund manager had alluded to the fact that we are analyzing and looking at every single investment across the continent to ensure that we pull out of the most volatile ones. I will just give a quick example, like in Mauritius, where we realized that tourism is being hit hard over there. So as an example, we are trying as much as possible to exit from Mauritius to prevent that. And then we can do what we can do within our control. But what we won't do though, I don't think we should change the fund for it to become a fixed income fund. It is an equity fund and we will need to deal with it as an equity fund. But the stocks that we pick, if you look at the report, are very strong stocks, and we believe that they will definitely bounce back. Research has shown that it always bounces back, and we are very confident that we'll bounce back. Be assured, be very assured.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Kojo. Juliet, do we have one more question or we can move on?
We can take a quick question from Kingsley. Juliet will take you on the next.
Juliet and Kingsley are
Juliet and Kingsley
yeah,
both?
both of them for sure.
Okay, Kingsley, go ahead, and then Juliet.
Mr. Chair. Hello.
Please go ahead, Kingsley.
I want to find out from Kojo whether football will find its way into Epack once he's elected on the board of directors.
Just so that Kojo does not present a fresh look at it, let me assure you, Kingsley, Kojo has been on the board for the last at least 5 to 6 years. So he needs to explain rather than tell you why football is not yet on the board. Thank you.
Kingsley, I don't know how you want me to bring football in there, but I always tell my staff that football has so much philosophy that we apply a lot of football philosophy in our management skills, and it does work. You need to bring together different people with different skill sets and then mold them as a team to ensure that you achieve the victory. So be rest assured, my football skills always come to bear in how I manage the team to achieve the trophy. We'll get the Epack trophy. Don't worry. Thank you very much, Kingsley.
Okay. I believe Juliet is also waiting.
And then, yes, we'll take Juliet. Please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was still mute. Sorry. My question was asked already, so I'm not going to waste your time. I mean, congratulations, brother, for all the hard work you are doing, and Kojo, and we are very grateful for being there for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. We'll take the last question and then we'll put the motion before the meeting.
Dennis, please go ahead and talk.
Right. I just heard from Kojo saying that the market that they selected is always been showing that it's bounced back. What I'm trying to find out is what new is it going? What are some of the new things that it's going to do? What new thing that is going to do to bring the Epack back again?
So like I alluded to earlier, we are rebalancing the portfolio, and Epack has always even had a fixed income component that we've rarely used. But this time round, we're trying to maximize our fixed income component of the portfolio to ensure that we reduce the volatility as much as possible. And then when there's the uptick, we can take full advantage of the stocks when they go up as well. So that's quite significant, our rebalancing of the portfolio, which we haven't done previously. Thank you.
Thank you, Kojo.
Okay.
So,
Juliet, I think we're done with the question. So, ladies and gentlemen, shareholders, I hereby move that Kojo Addae-Mensah, having offered himself for re-election, be and is hereby re-elected as a director of your company. Would a unit holder or proxy kindly raise his or her hand to second this motion?
I'll call on Caleb, whose hand was up. Caleb, please give us your full name, identify yourself as a shareholder or proxy before you second the motion.
Please, I'm Caleb Amafio, and I'm a shareholder, and I therefore second this motion.
Thank you very much. And I put the motion to the meeting. Would all those in favor of this motion kindly signify by voting in the poll on your screen?
Mr. Chairman, I'll share the results of this vote. So for the resolution to re-elect Kojo Addae-Mensah as director, who is retiring by rotation, 175 shareholders voted for the motion, 8 shareholders voted against it.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare the motion carried, duly carried. So congratulations, Mr. Kojo Addae-Mensah, you're back as a director of the board. Additionally, I hereby move that Madam Adelaine Eshring, having offered herself for re-election, be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company. Would a unit holder or proxy kindly raise his or her hand to second this motion?
Rex, can you please go ahead, give us your full name, identify yourself as a shareholder or proxy before you second the motion.
Yeah, my name is Rex Nsiakusi, and I second the motion that Adelaide be.
Can you hear? Rex, can I please ask you to just repeat it and raise your voice a bit more? It was very faint.
My name is Rex Nsiakusi, and I second the motion that Mrs. Adelaide be maintained as a director.
Thank you, Rex.
Thank you very much. So at this point, I'd like to put the motion to the meeting. Will all those in favor of this motion please signify by voting in the poll on your screen currently?
Mr. Chairman, the voting has ended for this one. On the resolution to re-elect Adelaide Ashering, who is retiring by rotation, 154 shareholders voted for the motion, 13 against it.
I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Thank you very much. And congratulations to our colleague, both our colleagues, Kojo Addae-Mensah and Madam Ashering, for being re-elected to the fees.
Thank you.
Sorry, to the board. So the next item on the agenda is to approve director's fees. Erin comes the slippage. The directors are proposing that the non-executive directors' fees of 1,120 Ghanaian cedis per month per each non-executive director approved at the 19th annual general meeting, which was held in 2018, be maintained for another year, for the year ending December 21st, 2020. Are there any questions before I put this motion to the meeting? Please raise your hand, use the chat or the question and answer function to ask your question. Please go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, we have a question from Regina. Please give us your full name and let us know whether you're a shareholder or proxy before asking your question.
Hello.
Please go ahead, Regina.
My name is Regina and I'm a shareholder. Sorry, I think my question is about I'm taking one step back, the previous election that was the poll that was going on.
Can you hear?
I just wanted to find out that before we did the polls, those people like presented themselves. Doesn't mean that there weren't any other people, or that's how it works.
I think, Regina, the way it works is directors serve for a certain fixed time, and then when it's time for them, to either retire, when the time comes, they decide whether to represent themselves or retire. In this case, we're fortunate to have had two of our pre-existing colleagues who were already directors on the board, who then presented themselves to be, if you like, re-elected or confirmed to the board. So it's not a fresh case, so to speak, and there's nobody else considered other than directors who are due for retirement from time to time.
Oh, thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. So I hereby move that the non-executive director's fees of 1,120 Ghana cedis per month per non-executive director approved at the 19th annual general meeting held in 2018 be maintained for the year ending 31st December 2020. Would a unit holder or proxy kindly raise his or her hand to second this motion?
Caleb, please go ahead and give us your full name and let us know whether you're a shareholder or proxy before seconding the motion.
I'm Caleb Amafio and a shareholder. I therefore second the motion.
Thank you very much. I'll now put the motion to the meeting. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by voting in the poll on your screen now.
Mr. Chairman, I'll share the results for the resolution to approve directors' fees. 155 shareholders voted for it and 19 voted against it.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare the motion has been duly carried. I'm hard pressed and curious to find out what the 11% would have been voting against. Maybe they want an increase or a decrease from 2018. Okay. Thank you very much, shareholders, ladies and gentlemen. The next item on the agenda is to confirm the auditor's remuneration for the year ended 31st December 2019 and to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors for the year ending 31st December 2020. The auditor's remuneration for the year ended 31st December 2020 amounted to the auditor's remuneration for the year ended 31st December 2019 amounted to 35,438 Ghana cedis. And this is inclusive of VAT and the NHIL. Are there any questions before the motion is moved and put to the meeting? Please raise your hand or use the chat or the question and answer function to ask your questions now. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we'll take questions from the three hands that are currently raised. So we'll take from Elizabeth, Michael, and Juliet before we move to the motion. Elizabeth, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As COVID-19, I wouldn't been able to join this virtual AGM.
Elizabeth, we can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I was just making a general comment that thanks to COVID, I wouldn't have been able to join this virtual call. But my question is in relation to even the directors. Okay, so in as much as we repose a lot of confidence in them, it would be good that we get virtual or like independent assessment of them from time to time. So my question to the board chair, when was the last time there was an assessment of the board? And which consultant did the evaluation for them?
Thank you very much. I think I'll get our Chief Investment Officer to answer that question directly. Thanks. Very pertinent question, Elizabeth. Nii, please go on.
Hello. Yes, so this is Nii Ampa-Sowa with the asset management team. The last time a board evaluation was done was in 2014. The consultant that did it at the time was Sadia Hesse. Yes. So she did the evaluation. And,
thank you very much, Nii.
Mr. Chairman, can I have a follow-up question?
Sure, why not?
I think in line with corporate government, I think every 2 years should have been fine because 2014 is just far away, just about 6 years ago. So I think going forward, you need to consider that you do it either biannually or if annually, that should be fine.
Okay, thanks for the advice.
And we'll take a question from Michael. Michael, please give us your full name and let us know whether you're a shareholder or proxy before asking your question. Nope. Michael, please go ahead. Okay, then we'll move to Nana Boateng, who has not asked us a question before.
Good morning. My name is Nana Boateng. I'm calling from Upper Valley, Minnesota. This is specifically to our board members. Normally in senate like this, we don't really hear from our board members because, there's a set, agenda. But I was hoping that, from each board member, if they could, just give us, as we go into a new year, they could give us, some expectations, and sort of some expectations as well as what they hope, they would, change in terms of, what they saw in this previous year moving forward, in line with, supporting the fund moving forward. Just a brief, Okay,
well, thank you very much, Nana. I'm sure you know that the format and content of the annual general meeting is actually prescribed and fairly limited. Let me finish. Let me finish, because I can tell that you are a person of much knowledge. What we've tried to do is capture the essence of your question in the chairman's statement. And then, as you can recall, one or two others were thrown at Kojo when it came. I think you can suffice it to know that, number one, as Databank, we will continue to be in touch with you through our newsletter, so you will know not just on an annual basis, but virtually on a weekly basis where we are going as an institution. And with permission from my colleagues, I'll just add by saying it's quite obvious that the situation we're in regarding the coronavirus makes it difficult for anyone to thumb their chest and make boastful promises. What we will, however, do and commit to you is to use our best endeavors to protect your investment with us, with our eyes very much wide open and with God by our side. Thank you very much.
I appreciate response. Thanks.
Thank you. Good, Nana.
Thank you, Keli. So we have two last questions, Dennis and Erroneous, and then we'll move to the motion.
Okay, so we just voted for the director's fees, which I don't have any problem about it. But my question is, because I'm sitting here voting, which I don't have anything to compare with. So what I want to see is, what was the previous fees? Because this is the first time me attending to this AGM meeting, which like I said before, I live in London. So this is the first time me having opportunity to be at this AGM meeting. So what was the fees for the previous year? Thank you very much.
Well, more importantly and easily for you, Dennis, the resolution you are voting for is saying that the fees we are looking for you to approve is the same as what was approved for 2019, approval of which came during the 2018 AGM. You follow? So it's almost like a no-brainer. The 35,000 odd Ghana cedis I'm talking about is exactly what was approved by shareholders last year. And we are bringing the same number this year. So there is nothing really that you may want to correct with.
Well, I'm asking it wasn't clear before.
Oh, okay. I thought it was clear in my statement. But no. I think Kojo will also help you with some more information.
All right. Okay.
Hello, can I speak? This is Soyiri.
No, hold on.
Okay.
I think we have a slight conflict.
Sorry, I just want to, for the benefit of most of the shareholders who are probably attending the AGM for the first time, especially for Epack, to remind us all that indeed in 2017, we actually came to the shareholders to attempt just an inflationary adjustment increase in the directors' fees. This was declined. It was quite a dodgy, naughty issue. So for Epack directors specifically, this is the third year running that they have had no adjustment whatsoever to directors' fees, with inflation and depreciation eating into the CD equivalent. So I'll just like shareholders to bear this in mind as we come into next year, so to speak. I think the directors have really sacrificed a lot for the benefit of the fund. Thank you.
There was one more from Erroneous, and then we can.
Aaron or Soyiri? Hello, this is Soyiri. Can I ask my question? Just a quick one.
Please go ahead, Erroneous. Erroneous, we're not able to hear you.
No, I am Soyiri. And my question was,
Soyiri.
yeah, for how long are we going to maintain our auditors, and when is it due to change? And the second question is a general question about the voting. I think we have binary options to vote for, but sometimes we may have, like Kojo just mentioned, we anticipate that things are becoming harder on our directors and we demand more from them. So would we want to have an option to vote for an increase of their allowance so that they can do a good job?
I wish this was a physical meeting. I'll be looking at the faces of the directors who would have been smiling by now. Thank you very much, Soyiri. I think it's fair to say, in terms of auditor rotation, speak up. They are in the 5th year, and so a rotation is going to be done. The practice or the convention has been a 5-year rotation, so we'll get that done. And in terms of your question about the directors/auditors fees, well, actually, it's more a contribution than anything. I think we make it binary to keep the conversation efficient. However, in the comments, there's nothing that stops you from at least making a comment about how you feel, whether you think it should have been increased. It doesn't mean it will get passed at this meeting, but it will be taken into consideration for the next. Thank you. So I hereby move that the auditor's remuneration for the year ended 31st December 2019, amounting to 35,438 Ghanaian cedis, inclusive of VAT and NHIL, be and is hereby confirmed, and that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the auditors for the year ending 31st December 2020. Would a unit holder or a proxy kindly raise his or her hand to second this motion?
Fred, please go ahead. Let us know your full name, whether you are a shareholder or proxy, before you second the motion.
Yeah, my name is Fred Ejejan, a shareholder. I second the motion.
Thank you.
I now put the motion to the meeting. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by voting in the poll on your screen?
Mr. Chairman, on the resolution of the auditor's remuneration, which was to confirm the auditor's remuneration for the year ended December 31st, 2019, and to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors for the year ending December 31st, 2020. 142 shareholders voted for the motion, and 14 shareholders voted against it.
I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried, and I thank all shareholders very much. The last item on the agenda, which is being discussed as under the special business, is to amend the company's regulations to accommodate the holding of annual general meetings by electronic or virtual means where the directors deem it necessary to do so. In view of the COVID-19 pandemic and resultant restrictions imposed under the Imposition of Restrictions Act 2020 on public gatherings, this is an act in Ghana for those of you who are joining us from outside. The Registrar of Companies by Companies Bulletin dated 14th May 2020 directed that companies may hold their annual general meetings electronically. This directive is applicable to the holding of this year's AGM, but to cater for future and also the possibility that there will be a hybrid in the mode of holding AGMs, there is the need for your company's regulations to be amended to accommodate the holding of AGMs by electronic or virtual means, where the directors deem it fit and necessary to do so. Are there any questions before this motion is moved and put to the meeting? Kindly raise your hand or use the chat or question and answer function to ask your questions now.
We will take questions from those who have not been able to ask yet. So we'll start with someone under the name of Accounts, then we'll go to Francis, then Dr. Justice Archer, and then Joshua.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I think this is...
Oh, sorry. Hi, can I please ask you to identify yourself with your full name and whether you are a shareholder or proxy before asking your question?
Okay, sorry about that. My name is Marcus Amusahineku. I'm a shareholder.
Please go ahead.
It's a suggestion. I'm very happy for this because I think this one will be accounted as an advantage of COVID-19 because most of the times some of us are unable to come to Accra and attend the AGM. So this is, I think, my own view, no objection to the amendment. And I recommend that management will continue to always conduct the AGM via this electronic means. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Francis, can we hear from you? Give us your full name, please, and then let us know whether you're a shareholder or proxy.
Yes, Francis Ashite, a shareholder. I was going to ask the need for the amendment since there's no amendment as of today, but we are having the meeting. But I think like Keli pointed out, if it's to enable us do a hybrid going forward, then fine, I'm all for the motion. Otherwise, I didn't see why we needed to amend if we could do without it like we are doing this year.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. Kojo will address the aspect of how come we are doing it this year.
You know, in our company regulations, we had not made provision for virtual AGMs. It was all in the traditional sense. To do this specific one, we had to go and we had to get the Registrar General to issue specific regulations as well as the SEC. The reason why we need these resolutions is such that going forward, we don't have to always go back to the Registrar General or the SEC to be able to hold either a full virtual or a hybrid. So it's very important that we pass this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Kojo. Are there any further questions?
Yes, so we just have, we'll do Justice, Dr. Justice Archer, and then Joshua, and then we'll move to the motion.
Yeah, thanks. I think mine is also in support of the motion. My name is Justice and I am in the UK. And I think this has been very, very helpful because I've been with the Epack Fund since 2007 and I've never had an opportunity to join any of the meetings. So I think that a hybrid will be really good. So I really support the motion that this should be the way forward going on.
Thank you very much, Dr. Justice Archer.
And then we'll hear from Joshua, and then we will move. Joshua, please go ahead. Joshua, please go ahead. Okay, I think he may have issues. So, Mr. Chairman, you can continue.
Okay. Well, thank you all for your contributions and to this motion. And I put the motion to the meeting. Will all those in favor of this motion please signify by voting in the poll on your screen now? Oh, I haven't seconded it yet. I have to ask someone to second them. Oh, I'm sorry. I take that over again. I hereby move that the company's regulations be amended to accommodate the holding of annual general meetings by electronic or virtual means where the directors deem it necessary to do so. Would a unit holder or proxy kindly raise his or her hand to second this motion?
Richard, can you please go ahead, give us your full name, and let us know whether you are a shareholder or proxy before seconding the motion.
Hello. My name is Richard Kofi. Yes, I'm a Epack shareholder. So I support the motion to amend the company's regulations and constitution to accommodate the holding of annual general meetings by electronic or virtual means, where the directors deem it necessary to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. I now put the motion to the meeting. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by voting in the poll on your screen now.
So, Mr. Chairman, on the final resolution, which is to amend the company's regulations and constitutions to accommodate the holding of annual general meetings by electronic or virtual means, where the directors deem it necessary to do so, 158 shareholders voted for the motion and 3 shareholders voted against it.
Thank you very much. I hereby move that the company's regulations be amended to accommodate the holding of annual general meetings by, oh, I'm sorry. Your chairman is, I'll take that over again. I hereby declare that the motion has been carried. And that's it. Thank you. Shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the proceedings for today, the formal proceedings for today. I'd like to call on the Group Chief Marketing Officer, Gillian, who you've already heard from today, to give us the vote of thanks. But I would also, at the same time, like to take what I call Chairman's discretion to say that at the end of the formal proceedings, which will come to an end after a prayer, I will give us another 5 or 10 minutes. Since this is the first virtual meeting, and I can sense that we've got quite a few shareholders who are joining us for the first time in an AGM. So I'll give the meeting an extra 5 to 10 minutes of comments and contributions. Kindly note, cherished shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, that this is, number 1, at the discretion of the chairman. Number 2, does not constitute part of the formal elements of the meeting. This is our way of gleaning and getting a bit closer to you as shareholders and contributors. So after we've heard the vote of thanks from Gillian, there will be a closing prayer, at which point the meeting will be deemed to have come to a formal end. However, members of the board, together with the executives of your cherished fund, will be on hand to take a few more questions or indeed any comments for between 5 to 10 extra minutes before we shut off our various mics and machines. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the Board of Directors, the Chairman of Epack, and the staff of Databank, we would like to say thank you for joining us for this AGM. As you've noted, it's our first virtual AGM, and it has allowed people from all countries to participate, which is really a privilege for us to be able to interact with you. So thank you all for joining us. We wish you all the best for the rest of 2020. And We thank you and pray that you stay safe. Have a wonderful day.
Can I ask Mrs. Deborah Ampa-Sowa to say the closing prayer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shall we pray? As we come to the end of this meeting, Father, we want to say thank you to you. We want to thank you for the opportunity today to discuss issues pertaining to the Databank Epack Investment Fund. And indeed, for the over 23 years of its service, Father, we are grateful unto your name. We thank you, Lord, for the lives of our shareholders, our directors, and the management and staff of Databank. Father, Lord, we pray for your protection and preservation, especially in these times for staff and management of Databank, that a year today or a year by this time, Father,
Amen. Thank you very much, Debbie. So ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Board of Directors, I would like to personally thank you for attending this virtual meeting and showing so much interest in the affairs of your own Databank Epack Investment Fund. I hereby declare the virtual meeting formally closed. And as I said earlier on, we will now hold ourselves in readiness in an informal question, answer, and also comment session for the next 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll be on standby, the board, directors, and also executives of your fund. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a question from Sandra first because her hand has come up quite often and we have not been able to get to her. Then we'll go to Juliana. Sandra, please go ahead.
Mute my mic. Hello again to everyone. I have enjoyed this virtual session and I'm wondering if there is some way to continue the virtual participation. You know, we here in America have a very close relationship with the institutions where we invest money. And sometimes the virtual participation can be done in a non-disruptive way, where we might submit questions a week or so in advance and only be a part of the virtual participation as listeners. But I had felt so disenfranchised before, and at least I'm hearing and seeing people who are involved with the investment. And it just makes it, it gives it, there's humanity in the idea there. It's like we're all in this together, as opposed to what are they doing to me? Where are my funds? Why can't I get information? So I'm just wondering if there is any interest or opportunity for people from the various countries to actually be on board to listen here and to participate in a non-disruptive way.
Sure, sure. Sandra, actually, I think that it's fair to say COVID or the coronavirus and its the outcome of the situation is what has led us to do this virtual meeting. However, the lessons learned, as has been echoed by a previous contributor, are that it is actually possible to have a lot more of our shareholders join us in discourse about indeed their own investment. So one of the reasons why we have just passed a resolution to amend the company's regulations is to allow us to also explore further, not just on the basis of the COVID limitations, but also on an ongoing basis for a richer discourse with our contributors and our shareholders. So I would say look out for this, watch the space. We will certainly develop ways in which we can interact with our shareholders in a virtual manner. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take the next question from Daniel Nyako and then Juliana.
Okay, hello. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I have two questions. The first question is with the MFAN account, with the Epack account. When you observe critically, you realize that the beginning of every year, that's the first 3 months, you see the fund appreciating and it gives you some kind of joy. But after the first quarter, when you enter into the second quarter, then you see it depreciating and it keeps on going to the end of the year. Can you please explain to, because I don't really have much knowledge in financial adequate education or something. So if you can explain it a bit to me, why it happens. And then the second one also goes to last year, I realized that there was a financial, that's the Ghana, the Bank of Ghana said they were cleaning the financial sector and a lot of funds or the companies for that matter collapsed. So I want to find out how stable or how are Databank able to put structures in place so that in the future, if there is any financial sector cleanup, whatever that they may term it, it comes up, it will be able to protect investors' fund. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Very insightful questions. In the case of protection of investment, I think it's based on the legal structures that we are operating with. Your money does not come to an operating account of Databank. It goes straight to what we call the custodian account. And a custodian is a separate legal entity. In the case of Epack, I believe it's the Stanchart, the bank, who then hold the assets. They are in complete control of the assets of Epack. And by assets, I mean the contributions that contributors like you make. So Databank then issues instructions as and when in terms of what Stanchart should buy or not buy on the market. So your funds are always protected and in a matter of speaking, out of the reach of Databank in terms of its operations. So you are safe in that regard. What was the first question? I'll let my fund managers, I'll let my fund managers tackle the first quarter cycle. I think I'm also curious, although I'm going to precede it by saying I suspect it is not a trend which will be a 20-year trend, but a more recent trend, which may have something to do with the difficult couple of years we've had this past few years. Nii, can you educate us, please? Did you understand the question?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Hello? Yes.
Hello.
So this is Nii Ampa-Sowa. Regarding the first question on your observation about the historical performance of Epack. For 2018 in particular, what we recognized was that there was a rally that had run through from 2017 through to 2018. It ended, I think, in April of 2018, and then thereafter, the price started falling. Just around that time, I think MTN also was coming to market. So we saw a number of investors disinvest from shares in other companies and then invest their proceeds into MTN. And I wouldn't say there is a clear pattern as to why. Within the first quarters of the year, usually there's a lot of euphoria. The currency also tends to waver a bit because of activities that happened the previous year. So if the currency does depreciate, the impact that we see on Epack is that it's a gain, because Epack is valued in cedis, and for a cedi to depreciate means that for the same dollars you're holding, you're gaining more in terms of currency. So that is what I can say to that detail in particular. Overall, I would advise you not to, the Ghanaian phrase you may hear is play cha-cha with Epack. Its underlying performance is driven by movements in share prices, and that could either go up or down. So I think that is what I have to say on the question. I hope it answers your question.
Okay, very well. Thank you.
Thank
you very much, Nii.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll do Juliana, and then we will do Solomon, and then Galaxy Grand. Get prepared to identify yourself. Juliana is gone. All right. So we'll move to Solomon. Solomon, please go ahead.
I really enjoyed the AGM and especially
Solomon, can you start again, please? Your voice sounds very far away.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really excited and with the medium of the social building, the first of its kind, and it is also adopted for the subsequent one, because for about 9 years, this is my first time of participating in AGM. Here, there is something that you did I like very much, and during the financial cleanup exercise, I have some information on the social media which some colleagues were posting to me that those who have the accounts with Databank should also go and make their withdrawal, because there was going to be something which happened in the other banks that in person you responded timely, which I really appreciated. And I want to say thank you, and we pray that we continue to see better things with subsequent years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Solomon. Gillian, do you have one or two more comments? Yes, who haven't had a chance, yes.
I'll focus on the people who have not had a chance to ask questions yet, since we're out of time. So I'll do Winifred and Solomon and Galaxy. So Galaxy Grand, we'll start with you. Please identify yourself, since we can't tell your name.
Hello.
Yes,
hello, this is Winifred. Okay, my name is Winifred Asari. I'm a shareholder with Epack. I joined since 2010. I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. I'm also first time participating and I enjoyed it. I've been driving through the whole proceedings and I've enjoyed it. And then I also wanted to suggest if Databank could send messages to customers, appropriate times to buy shares. Maybe it's a good time if you have some money you can invest, or yeah, things like that, like prompting us as to when you can appropriate for you to invest. Maybe that's the...
Okay, that's Winifred. That's a fantastic suggestion, and in fact, you couldn't have chosen a better person to address it to than Gillian, who is our Chief Marketing Officer. So I want to thank you for that very much.
Thank you, Winifred. We've noted it. So we'll move on to Galaxy Grand. Please give us your name.
My name is Joshua Saki.
Hi, Joshua.
Yes, I'm a shareholder.
Go ahead,
Hello?
Joshua. We're listening to
Yes,
your comments.
I think it's a very good thing that we had this virtual meeting, because I've been doing other things and I've been consistently on the meeting throughout. So I think
it's a recommendation that we should continue. And then kudos to everybody who organized it. My other session is that with this thing being successful, if we can every 3 months have an interactive session with the shareholders and explain things to them, like the other lady talked about, investments available and then other issues, so that people can interact with the bank every 3 months. I think it will go a long way to make our business or the business with the bank, let me say, further and then reach the heights that we all think we can get to. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Joshua. It is a laudable one. We'll take it on board, and you can watch out for the arrangements regarding what I call the COVID incentivized improvements to our communication. But isn't it amazing that we've had the technology? It is relatively new, this Zoom thing, but we've had it for a few years. However, it took COVID to sort of really push us all.
Bring it to the fore. Bring it to the
Yes,
fore.
to use it. Yeah. So we'll take advantage of it, and we thank you for your contribution.
That's good. That's good. Thank you.
Okay. We've got 3 people with their hands up, so we'll take these last 3 questions and we're done. So we'll start with Dr. Archer, then we'll go to Sayuri, and then Juliana, and then we'll have to wrap it up.
Well, no problem. Dr. Archer.
Thanks.
Dr. Archer, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's been very, very interesting discussion, and now I have an idea of what our monies are being used for. And sometimes we are left in the vacuum. So I was wondering, I think somebody suggested if quarterly or every 3 months we can have an outlook of how the funds are going, or quarterly report of or statements of the fund or something like that. Is it something like that, to have a quarterly report of how our funds are being used, or statement of how our things are being done?
Dr. Archer, I'll respond to that question. So you can actually register for our online services platform. It's available through our website, and you can then check your balance and get your statements any day of the year that you would like. We also have, now with COVID, quarterly, we have investment seminars, like virtual meetings to talk about investing and your funds. So we send out a monthly newsletter. We'll promote the seminars in those letters as well, so that you can also participate.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, wonderful. And then Sayuri, please. Okay, well, somehow it doesn't seem to want to allow you to talk.
The last one.
Yes. So other people have raised their hands, but time is fast gone. So we thank the chairman for even extending his time, and the board members as well for going past the meeting time. Thank you all. I don't know if you want to say any final words.
Okay, so our cherished shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Your comments, particularly in this last segment, have been taken on board. We will continue to monitor our emails for any further comments or questions that you might have post the AGM. We would also like to encourage you to visit our website or use our Databank app to access your accounts with us, and also to know what's going on with your company and your investments. So with that said, I wish you a good rest of the day, good rest of the week. And again, thank you all for joining us. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Good show.